That takes us to book versus movie. And again, we're straying further and further from the books with the movies now.
Yes. Actually, I went in and I looked, and this chapter is depicted in less than about 6 minutes of the movie.
Okay. It is. It's very short. I mean, this is a pretty short chapter too, though. We talked about that. It's a shorter chapter. But yeah, it's a very small scene in the movie, and it's very different from the book. So in the movie, Lockhart doesn't come to the class with Professor Sprout. There's no bandages. The Willow has no bandages. That was never a thing. The mandrakes are actually brown. They kind of look like potatoes.
Yes.
And then because, of course, they always have to add some extra drama because it's a movie. In the movie, when Professor Sprout pulls out the mandrake, Neville faints. Yeah. And she says, "Oh, Longbottom's neglected his earmuffs." And Seamus says, "No, he's just fainted." And they just leave him there on the floor. She's like, "Okay, he'll be all right. He'll wake up after a while." And they just leave him on the floor for the rest of class while they work around him.
Right.
Oddly, the sequence is different in the movie. You and I talked about this last week when we were getting ready, Erica. So the Great Hall scene with the Howler happens after herbology in the movie. And so it makes it seem like it's a different day. And
no. It was lunch. So
or maybe it was at lunchtime.
Yeah, because you and I had talked about it. So when I was watching it, I was kind of paying attention, and they had like potato chips and stuff like that on the table. So it was actually lunchtime. So they went to herbology class, and then they broke for lunch, and then they went to Defense Against the Dark Arts.
Okay, because why we talked about that.
There was no transfiguration.
Because why we talked about that was when the Howler came, only Errol flew in. It wasn't a mail delivery drop. It was just Errol coming in, bringing the Howler at that time. And in the movie is where she switches her voice, and after she yells all of that at Ron, she goes, "Oh, and Ginny dear, congratulations on making it into Gryffindor. We're so proud of you."
Exactly.
At the end of the Howler. And then the Howler does like a raspberry with a long paper tongue and then tears itself up instead of catching fire and curling into ash like in the book.
Yes.
In the movie, they actually meet Colin in the Great Hall. He comes up with his camera. There's that whole scene with Lockhart where he hears it and all of that kind of stuff, and Draco and all that. None of that happens.
Because they're on lunch. He comes up to them at lunch.
Yeah. And so they do all of that, and then after lunch they just go to Defense Against the Dark Arts. So they're actually in the classroom already, and then Gilderoy Lockhart kind of sweeps in, like making his entrance in the movie, and does his intro and points at all his, smiles at all his classroom is adorned with pictures of himself. And he's smiling at each one as he passes by and walks into the class introducing himself.
Of course it is. And of course he
does. So in the book, when the Pixies pick Neville up by the ears and hang him on the chandelier falls. But in the movie, the chandelier doesn't fall. And poor Neville, while they're getting him down, is like, "Why is it always me?"
I know, poor baby. Hold on.
And then in the movie, the Pixie does snatch Gilderoy Lockhart's wand, but instead of throwing it out the window, he uses it, and there's like a skeleton of some kind of creature, probably a small dragon or something like that, hanging from the ceiling. And the Pixie uses the wand, detaches that, and that comes crashing down.
Do you think it's a thestral? I thought it was a thestral.
Oh, maybe. But I didn't feel like it was big enough. Oh, maybe it was a chillin. I didn't feel like it was big enough to be a thestral. Like it was smaller. You know what I mean? And just
Yes,
now I thought
yes.
maybe it was a chillin'.
Ooh, that's very possible. These are, by the way, these are all creatures that we come to find in other books or in Fantastic Beasts as well.
Mm-hmm. And then the last book versus movie thing that I have is Hermione actually just casts Immobulus, and all the pixies freeze in midair. And that's how they gather them up and get them back into the cage. Did I miss anything?
Let's see. Mail call, Lockhart Doctrine, the Whomping Willow. Did we also, we said that the test isn't in the book, in the movie?
Oh, yeah, it wasn't. I didn't say it, but I had it written down, but I didn't say it. No.
Yeah.
They didn't do that test.
It's very, very short because basically what happens is that in the movie, he just introduces himself and then introduces the pixies. So it's really short. Whereas in the book, he gives them their little pop quiz and whatnot.
Yeah. So